Hi, I'm Claudia Brown Coulter with Pivotal Peace. I'm your go-to mediator for navigating divorce while parenting children with special needs, and I'm also a legal document assistant, LDA, based in the greater Los Angeles area. Welcome to Finish Your Divorce Fridays, and we're going to talk about spousal support. What is it? How is it calculated? This is a thing that strikes fear in the hearts of spouses who earn more than the other spouse. Oh my God, I don't want to pay them money. I know, but we have to talk about it because your spouse is going to talk about it. So you might as well be, prepared and have your eyes wide open. So let's go through this really quickly. I mean, it's Friday. It's Friday. Let's get this done. So let's talk about what the heck is spousal support. Spousal support is something that you pay your spouse, and the purpose of it is to kind of maintain the lifestyle, the standard of living in the marriage. A lot of people call it alimony, and it's called alimony in some states. But in the state of California, we don't call it alimony, we call it spousal support. So just, put that in the back of your head. It means the same thing. No, it means the same thing. It's the same thing. So the purpose of this, though, is really to kind of look at the standard of living, not a false standard of living. If you lived off of credit cards and, airline points and that were, from all of the credit card debt you accrued, that's not real. That's not a real standard of living. This is a standard of living based off of the real actual money that you brought in. And the purpose is really to provide financial assistance to the other spouse who cannot maintain that standard of living. Now, both of your standards of living is not going to be the same because you're taking two people in one house and you're putting them into two houses in California, in Los Angeles. That's not expensive. That's just expensive, right? It just is. Okay. So how do we calculate it? The same formula that we use to calculate child support, we can use to calculate spousal support. But spousal support is a little bit different. It's not required. It's not like there's not like guideline, like you got to pay child support no matter what. Spousal support is different. You can be like, we're going to waive that and nobody's going to pay anyone anything. The court's going to be like, cool. You can't necessarily do that with child support. We could talk about that another time, but it's not quite the same process. So, to that end, you can negotiate spousal support. If that calculator comes out with a number, you can negotiate what that number should actually be, what you're willing to pay. You want to think about how long someone was married. Did they give up working so that you could get an education, so that you can increase your earning potential? Because that earning potential stays with you. It doesn't go to your spouse. It stays with you. You're getting divorced. You still have that high earning potential. Did they help contribute to that? Because they stayed home and cared for the children? Because you went on work trips and they were home holding down the fort? Those are things to consider. Maybe they just don't have the same earning potential as you do. But they have a higher standard of living in the marriage. That's something that needs to be considered. There's also something called temporary and permanent spousal support. Temporary spousal support means the spousal support that you are paying your spouse while you are in the process of divorce. Permanent spousal support does not mean that it lasts forever. It could, but permanent means after the divorce. And permanent support, if we look at that calculator, permanent support can be 10 to 20% lower than that initial output of the calculator. That calculator is giving you temporary support numbers. Permanent support is going to be lower. And then really, if you were going to a judge, the judge is going to decide what this number should be. They're going to listen to you. They're going to listen to your spouse. They're going to look at the calculator. They're going to look at how old you are. Can you work? What was your life like? And decide what that amount should be and how long it should last. And there is this myth going around that if you have been married for 10 years, 10 years in California is considered a long-term marriage. If you've been married 10 years, then you automatically get spousal support for life. That ain't true. That ain't true. But if you've been married for 20, 30 years and you were a stay-at-home parent that whole time, maybe the judge might do that. So you never know what a judge will decide. So there's different types of support. We talked about temporary spousal support while you're going through the marriage, permanent spousal support. I feel like I can't get the words out. Spousal support, permanent spousal support for a certain amount of time after the divorce has been finalized. Sometimes people pay support for a very specific reason, and that reason is, okay, you supported me through school, so now I'm going to support you so that you can go through school and get a higher income amount. I mean, obviously, if you're a school teacher, if your spouse is in school to be a school teacher and you're a physician or an attorney, they ain't never going to reach your earning potential because we just don't value education like that in our country. Okay, that was my soapbox for this lesson. But they still have increased earning potential by completing those degrees. So it could be that they're given time, and sometimes the court will order that you have a certain amount of time to become self-sufficient. Also, you know what? Some people are like, I do not want to pay them payments. So they do a lump sum. They do an equalizing payment or a lump sum buyout. And they give them a whole bunch of cash up front. It's like, we ain't doing this no more. Generally, it's less than if it was a monthly sum, as if they were paying you per month for a set amount of years because you're getting it all up front. That's something that people negotiate. So, what are some things to consider? Your taxes are very important things to consider. So that we've got two sets of tax laws that are happening. I am not a tax professional. I think you guys know that by now, but this is pretty basic and you should go talk to your tax professional about this. For your federal taxes, look, I have to read right now because I got to make sure I don't get this wrong. But for your federal taxes, if you are paying spousal support, you cannot deduct those payments from your income. And for your federal taxes, if you are receiving spousal support, you don't have to report that spousal support income as income. I know. Okay. Oh, but wait, we're in California. Let's try this again. Let's flip that and reverse it. If you're in California and you are paying spousal support, you get to deduct the amount of payment, spousal support payments you're making on your California taxes. If you are in California and you are receiving spousal support, then on your California taxes, you need to report that as income. Is everybody thoroughly confused by now? Okay, great. So, moral of the story, consult with a tax professional as you look at spousal support. I will say, people make different decisions in divorce. Sometimes they give more to the spouse than maybe even the spouse is asking for because they feel guilty, because they just feel like, you know what, this is right. Or they just go, I want to be done and I don't want them to bother me. So I'm going to pay them a little bit more, or I'm going to give them a little bit more of this so that we can just kind of have a clean slate. So your spouse might surprise you if you're looking for spousal support. There's a couple of ways to handle spousal support. You can make it non-modifiable. Now, if you make it non-modifiable, your spouse can come crying back to you like, oh no, this happened. I lost my job. I got kicked out of school. I need support for longer. The other side, though, is that if you lose your job and you've made it non-modifiable, or you have to take a severe pay cut, you can't modify that spousal support. Most of the time, modifiable spousal support can kind of protect both of you, but this is why you really need to consult with an attorney so they can look at both of your financial situations and give you legal advice on how that spousal support should be awarded. And then, you got to pay. This is a court order. Once it's finalized, it's a court order, just like child support is a court order. You need to pay. If you don't pay, there are consequences that the court can impose upon you. So make sure you pay. Okay, if you've got questions about spousal support, about finishing your divorce, go ahead and drop them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you have a great weekend. And don't be afraid of spousal support. A really good conversation and mediation can clear up a ton of misconceptions and help you guys reach an agreement that you can both live with and be happy about to a certain extent, and that you feel like, this is going to be okay. That's the purpose of mediation. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week.